So, for example, when I think of him, I think of plasters, thumb-sized ones, the shape of disaster. All of his camera were inside out, all of his girlfriends were sleeping about, but he taught my trauma to move my mouth, write my poetry inside clouds. They wrote his sentence inside doubts, dashed into prison for scavenging pounds. So I also learned that education and success and the definitions of those words that I was getting didn't apply to my peers and the people that were doing those lyrics and that bright music around me. And that's really why I created the Mouthy Poets, which is a collective of 50 young people in Nottingham that we are teaching to define their own narratives, to build their own stories through creative writing, performance, and they also produce every single element of their shows that between 300 and 500 people come to twice a year. So they are building concrete career skills and getting jobs, but also actually building some pretty life-changing and saving stories. So what am I doing next? I've got so much adrenaline. So what's the problem I'm trying to solve, right? So we are trying to overcome barriers of communication. So we want to zoom into one, which is BSL, British Sign Language, deaf audience members. So we're right next to Derby, which is the biggest community of deaf people in England, bar London, right? So we've had BSL at our shows, but actually we have 2 languages on one stage. How can we fully integrate these? How can we let our young people think there are deaf audience members out there, and how are they engaging them? How are they traversing this one communication boundary? We really want to zoom into that, right? So this is, I'm going to do some case studies. This is Marisa in the middle there. Now, she actually can't speak, but she is one of the best spoken word artists I have ever met. She used a form of communication called FC, and she rolled into Mouthy, and I wasn't expecting it, and it completely revolutionized how I teach, how I conceive communication. And we want to use BSL as a similar access point to breaking a boundary. And as my second case study, I'm going to hand over to Daisy.
Hi, my name's Daisy, and my daughter's deaf, and this is a piece of response. Do you see disability or separate culture? Narrative of language, immerse me in your electrical sounds. You're disabled from ever knowing my micro connections. Perform help. My hearing's worsened, get me a box aid, cochlear implants, adaptable ears. My language needs to immerse me. Difficulties in balancing yours. Somewhere between big D and little d. Anxiously waiting. Mum, why do we need an electrical box between us when I can see your hands?
So what we're going to use this money for, we've got a massive show on the 25th of July in Nottingham. We also need many hands on that, which is another opportunity in the back of my head. But basically, we want to get some BSL poets in the show and look at potentially translating that into spoken poetry in that exchange, and also work with a BSL director that can tell us what a deaf person is experiencing when they watch one of our shows. And we really want to think about that. We want our young people to, I just don't think we ever conceive that as hearing people, and we really want to break those boundaries. And also some extra money on marketing, because often generic marketing materials aren't reaching those communities despite them being on our doorstep. So lastly, I just want to talk about our vision. I don't think we are a BSL organisation. I think we are an organisation that is tackling these boundaries, whether those boundaries be race, age, gender, and as a group, we are one of probably the most diverse group meeting in Nottingham, and it's very unusual to see people meeting that way. And we want to do that through spoken word, and that's what we're doing. And so if we get over 1,000, the point of that to us really is to document this work we're doing, enable other people to do that work internationally and nationally, and make that accessible. So even just putting subtitles on our videos, making sure everyone can access that information. And this is just, that's Ingrid, she's wonderful. Mishmash and Cray Cray, I don't know if anyone read that as well. So this is a flyer of a project Marisa's doing currently with another one of our alumni called Ione Smallhorn, who's a filmmaker, which is about a whole community of people that use FC and don't speak, and them using poetry to communicate and making a film about that. So really we want to invest in other projects like this. We want to say spoken word can enable you to communicate in a new and a fresh way, irrelevant of you feeling you're a poet or not. So yeah, I think that's it. Thank you.